Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. And now to the news. President Rodrigo Duterte arrives at the Vnukovo military base airport in Moscow as he embarks on a 5-day official visit in the Russian Federation starting October 1, 2019. Philippine Ambassador to Russia Carlos Soreta and Russian Ambassador to the Philippines Igor Kovalyev welcomed the president upon his arrival. Among the expected highlights of the president's visit include a bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, where both leaders are also set to witness the exchange of several agreements between the Philippines and Russia, and his attendance to the Valdai Discussion Club in Sochi. In his pre-departure statement, Duterte described his second trip to Russia as a chance to deepen engagement with a country that shares key strategic interests with the Philippines both bilaterally and in the larger Asia-Pacific region.
This visit reaffirms the Philippines' strong commitment to build a robust and comprehensive partnership with Russia, one that is based on shared interests, pragmatism, and mutual trust and respect. We will identify ways and further intensifying cooperation in areas of security and defense, combating terrorism and violent extremism, and addressing transnational crimes.
He said he will discuss regional and global developments that impact the Philippines and Russia as key points of convergence of national interest where the two countries can work together.
We expect key agreements including in political cooperation, health science and technology, and the culture to be signed.
Likewise, the president shall also attend a forum with the Russian business leaders and meet with the Filipino community in Moscow. This is the second time that President Duterte visited the Russian Federation. His first visit was in May 2017 that was cut short due to the Marawi city siege in the southern Philippines. Russia is likely to offer the Philippines various defense equipment during the visit of President Rodrigo Duterte and his party to Moscow this week, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said Monday. In a message to reporters, Lorenzana said Russia will interest Philippines to buy their equipment like transport helicopters, attack helicopters, multi-role fighters, ships, drones, tanks, and the like, and they will give a catalog of their products for consideration. Lorenzana, however, said he is not privy on whether this offer will include Russian diesel-electric submarines, which it had offered earlier. Last October, the Philippine Navy's Naval Task Force 87 visited a Russian Kilo-class diesel-electric submarine during its first-ever port visit in Vladivostok. The PN task force included the strategic sea-lift vessel BRP Tarlac. President Rodrigo Duterte dismissed as unripe a proposal of 2 U.S. senators to bar Philippine government officials involved in the imprisonment of Senator Laila de Lima from entering the United States.
Hilaw pa yan. When it becomes ripe, then I will say my piece.
Earlier, U.S. Senators Dick Durbin and Patrick Leahy filed an amendment to the 2020 State and Foreign Operations Appropriations Bill to include a ban on the entry to the U.S. of Philippine government officials involved in De Lima's imprisonment. Duterte said he did not consider the 2 U.S. senators' proposed amendment as interference and refused to comment further, pointing out that they were only voices of members of a committee and not an act of state.
I have the best adjective for that. Pero at this time, I will just hilaw pa yan eh. At the hilaw pa yan. When it becomes ripe, then I will say my piece.
Duterte. Duterte, however, said that should the Senate adopt the proposal of the two senators, he would speak to either the U.S. State Department or U.S. President Donald Trump.
The entire Senate. So if there is one or two or three who says that these things exist in the Philippines, let them. I cannot help them in their ignorance. So, if they decide to report it out of the committee to the plenary for adoption, and it becomes, it is now ripe, it becomes a matter now between two states, then that is the time, maybe the State Department or Trump and I will have to talk. And I will talk.
Meanwhile, Duterte said he saw no need for the Philippine government to conduct a probe into the two U.S. senators' proposed ban or ban U.S. government officials from the Philippines as well.
Those are proposals, and proposals are what they are, simply proposals. We will waste our time. I wouldn't waste my time investigating to.
When we come back, our resident ASEAN resource person, Dr. Carlos de Blunen Jr., joins us to interview our guest for today.
Visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. This is Kaloy Tabunda Jr. from the New Era University ASEAN Studies Center. This afternoon we're very honored to have with us here the Honorary Consul of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan to the Philippines, Consul Michael A. Ang. Good afternoon, Mr. Ang, Consul Ang.
Good afternoon, Sir Kaloy.
Okay, Consul Ang has been the immediate past president of the Consular Corps of the Philippines. Immediate past dean of the Consular Corps of the Philippines, and is currently a board member of Manila Times and the resident agent of the marine surveying company known as QBC Surveys.
Yes.
Okay, before we start the interview, Consul Ang, what's the difference between an honorary consul, a regular consul, and an ambassador?
Okay. An ambassador is the head of mission. And normally an ambassador would either be career or politically appointed.
Okay.
But would have to go through the normal process which all of the countries have in terms of clearing that particular person. In the case of the Philippines, the ambassador would go through the Commission on Appointments.
Okay.
Before his or her approval for posting or for the conference of the title of ambassador and subsequent posting to a particular country to represent his or her home country. Now, a career consul, the difference between a career consul and an honorary consul such as myself, to simplify it, an honorary consul, in terms of the expenses for the staff, for the office and everything, comes out of my pocket, as opposed to a career consul where they actually have a fixed or a set budget provided by their country to cover the day-to-day operations of that particular mission, and to also cover for other expenses that might be required for giving some type of assistance to their nationals in the host country.
So what are the services provided by the honorary consul, like
Normally, the services provided by an honorary consulate or a full functioning consulate would be close to each other. It only depends on, or the only difference would be the scope of the said works. In my particular case, I provide assistance to my Jordanians, to my nationals, and also to their families who are with them here in the Philippines. In the case of, let's say, a full functioning consulate headed by a career consul general, then it would be the same. They would also give their assistance to their nationals if they are distressed or they have concerns or they need to authenticate or legalize documents, let's say marriage contracts, birth certificates. We have the same functions.
Okay, but you pay for most of the operations of the honorary consulate here.
All of it, yes.
All of it.
But you know, there are some cases where honorary consuls, such as myself, would be provided a reimbursement for certain expenses that was really important and had to be spent for the assistance to a national. Not to be morbid or anything, but in the case of, let's say, in terms of past experiences, one of my nationals who passed away in the Philippines. Given that that's something that is not prepared for, we know it's an eventuality that everybody passes away. But in that particular case, in order to bring the remains back to Jordan, because it was the wish of the family back in Jordan to have the remains of their relative back with them, we had to facilitate the transport of the remains from the town where he was living, to Manila, and then from Manila to Jordan. Unfortunately, there was no direct flight, so we had to go through another airline before we can get the remains on board Royal Jordanian Air.
Who reimburses that? The Jordanian government? The
Jordanian government, specifically the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates.
Okay, Jordan. Apart from the biblical background, why should Filipinos be interested in Jordan?
Well, as a Filipino myself, I love movies. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, Jordan has been host to several movies. Are you familiar with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Of course.
Okay, the scene there where they discovered or where they found the Holy Grail, that's in Petra, one of the new wonders of the world. Specifically, the treasury, the main building or the main structure that is most famous around the world for Petra. If you are looking at something more new, more recent, we can cite one of the Transformers movies.
I remember
Revenge
that.
of the Fallen was there. Part of it was filmed in Jordan. The Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom.
Yeah,
and
I showed that to my
Eva
students.
Green. Oh, that's a wonderful movie. Several scenes were filmed in Jordan.
Okay.
The battle at the end where they were
the Crusaders versus the
where they were holding the fortress or the castle. That's in Kerak. That's one of the most well-maintained medieval fortresses from the time of the Crusades.
Okay, so can you describe our diplomatic relations with Jordan, the Philippines and Jordan diplomatic relations?
It's a good relationship. We've had relations between the two countries, specifically the Republic of the Philippines and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan since the 70s. And that began, of course, with the visit of his late Majesty King Hussein and her late Majesty Queen Alia. This was during the long ago administration, I think, if I'm not mistaken, during the Marcos administration.
1976.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And from there, the relationship snowballed into bigger and better things. I personally am hoping, as the Honorary Consul General of Jordan here, to find ways to further increase and improve the relationship. Improve in the sense that balancing it out so that it's not just focused on the labor relations.
Okay. Okay. So I understand, was it last year when President Duterte visited Jordan, as well as, of course, Israel, they signed several agreements?
Yes.
Are you familiar with those?
There were, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 main agreements. One on the political consultations, memorandum on political consultations. The other one is the Memorandum of Understanding on Investments between the Philippine Board of Investments and the Jordan counterpart.
Okay.
Another, of course, is the Memorandum of Understanding on Labor Cooperation, which is not new, but it was more of an updating to make sure that...
Also, there was a previous labor agreement.
There were a few other versions of the labor relations agreement between the two countries. As I said, that became the initial primary focus in terms of the relationship between the two countries, the labor cooperations. So the Philippines actually provides quite a significant number of laborers
there. Okay.
We do. And for its part, Jordan has been very cooperative and very open to amending and updating these labor relations agreements, particularly with regard to things that can be used to address concerns to protect both, to provide more protection to both the labor force coming from the Philippines and to further provide the proper education as well on the side of the employers to make sure that there's proper understanding between the two different cultures.
So what do Filipinos do in Jordan? We have laborers there. What do they do there?
Well, the majority of our labor force are household service workers.
Okay.
Looking at percentages, definitely more than 90% of the Filipinos. The number, by the way, is around 40,000 Filipinos
in Jordan.
As
domestic helpers mostly.
Yes, so as domestic helpers mostly. But as I mentioned earlier, one thing that I would love to contribute as the Honorary Consul General of Jordan here in the Philippines is to find a way to balance out the actual skills or backgrounds or professions of Filipinos going to work in Jordan, and that's been happening over the past few years. Or during my brief stint as Honorary Consul General here, I have seen and issued visas to more and more to some accountants, bookkeepers,
professionals,
hotels and restaurant management professionals,
mostly in the service sectors. Our professionals are mostly in the service sectors.
Yes.
Okay. And then what do Jordanians do here?
Well, if I can backtrack a bit, the Jordanians, there used to be back in the 70s up to the early 80s, close to 10,000 Jordanians living in the Philippines, and they were all here to study. Pursuing their tertiary level studies, their college degrees.
When was this? During the 80s?
70s up to the early 80s.
So the Philippines was still a very attractive educational destination then.
Well, as a Filipino, I still think that it is an attractive destination for education. Not just in our region, but for people even from Jordan. Up to now, I still touch base with a lot of these Jordanians who studied here, grew up here, and settled and established their businesses and their families here
in the Philippines.
And they tell me, oh, Consul Ang, I have another nephew coming from Jordan, and he's going to study in the same university where I studied. So
what do they
good.
take up?
It depends. Some
Okay.
of them have taken up business, others have taken up dentistry, others have taken up, well, other degrees in humanity. So,
Okay.
but
You said there are Jordanian investors in the Philippines. What
Yes.
are the businesses here, Jordanians?
most of these investors were actually from the group of Jordanians who studied here in the Philippines. They set up
okay.
their businesses or established themselves in the business sector by opening their manpower services to place Filipinos in GCC countries.
GCC.
Yes, not just
Gulf
Jordan, but
Cooperating Countries.
usually the more affluent ones focused on placement in GCC countries. Then the others have opened up their restaurants. Some of them recently have gone into importation of Jordanian products,
Okay.
specifically Dead Sea products.
Oh, such as
Dead Sea mud, Dead Sea salt, these two basic items infused in soaps, lotions,
Okay. So
creams.
that's allowed pala.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are only two primary players for the Dead Sea products, Israel and Jordan. I mean, we share, both countries share the Dead Sea.
Incidentally, how's your relationship with Israel?
It's good. It's good. Jordan and Israel support each other in terms of real world activities. A lot of the, in terms of what would interest Filipinos looking at traveling to the Middle East, a lot of them, when you tell them, Holy Land, pilgrimage.
Yes,
A lot of them are interested in that. Yeah, Petra. So, there's a lot of cooperation and collaboration between Jordanian companies and Israeli companies to maximize the promotion of the Holy Land, which includes big parts of the two countries.
Okay. You've been honorary consul since
2005.
2005, so that's how many years already? 14 years.
14 years.
And so far, how do you assess the, how do Jordanians regard Filipinos?
They regard us as one of their own. They regard us as brothers and sisters. There are a lot of similarities between the two peoples and the two cultures. If I may be a bit specific, and this might be jumping the gun a bit,
Okay.
Filipinos, just like any other Asians, we love our rice. We love having the rice in our meal.
You're not
in our
Filipino
meals.
if you don't eat rice.
Precisely.
Sometimes I'm guilty about that.
But would you believe that the national dish of Jordan is a rice dish?
Oh,
It's called mansef.
mansef.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a rice dish with the rice with the lamb, with the bread and the warm or hot yogurt. Yes, the yogurt you can drink it while you're eating that, but usually you pour it like a sauce on top of all of that. So you have a saucy meal, rice dish meal.
So, do you think what are the other similarities between Jordanians and Filipinos?
We're both centered around our families. We love making sure that we have the regular family interaction.
Okay. So
It's
the Jordanians are family oriented.
Very family oriented.
Okay, and you've been there for the last 14 years. How do you find your assignment as a?
To be honest, I'll make a confession. Since representing the Kingdom of Jordan since 2005, I've only been to the Kingdom once. This was back in 2015 when my former ambassador, my former non-resident ambassador in Tokyo, said that there is a conference for expats being organized by the office of His Majesty King Abdullah II. And he said that, it would be a good idea for you to go to this one because there will be more activities and it'll give you a better idea and a better sense of your role as an honorary consul.
But you find the job fulfilling.
I do.
If that's considered a job because you don't earn anything from it.
No, but it is a job, nevertheless, without the remuneration, but still very rewarding in a lot of other ways.
Okay.
Sometimes it might be something as simple as a family member sending you a WhatsApp message or sending you an email or just calling you and talking to you in broken English to tell you that they appreciate what you did or what I did to be able to find a way to get the relative back to Jordan, or for something as simple as authenticating a birth certificate so that they can their younger relatives can enroll in a school here, or at least provide them the opportunity by providing that legal document to include them in the family book so they can get their Jordanian passports for further ease of travel. So they would be traveling using 2 different passports, not just one.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Michael Ang. That's Mr. Michael Ang, the Honorary Consul of the Kingdom of Jordan to the Philippines.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, I'm Koloy Tabunda, and I'm on with 25. Back to you, Maricar.
Thank you, Dr. Koloy. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco, and I am 1 with 25.